Unexpected love, lonely receptionist's shocking date with a CEO at midnight. Will she believe? The clock struck 12, and city lights flickered like stars playing hide-and-seek in a velvet sky. At the heart of it all stood Lucy, the lonely receptionist, her heart racing like a wild stallion. Was the figure striding toward her really who she thought it was? Her breath caught in her throat as a tall, imposing man entered the lobby. Mark Sinclair, the elusive CEO known for stunning charisma and a wealth that made headlines. He was more than just a man, he was an enigma wrapped in tailored suits and guarded smiles. Every rumor about him whispered through the office, like shadows lurking in the corners. Awards, scandals, betrayal, it was all part of the Mark Sinclair saga. Yet here he was, in front of her. Lucy's palms grew clammy, and she had to remind herself to breathe. She could hardly believe it, the world had spun upside down, and she, the unnoticed receptionist, was now the focus of this mysterious encounter. Her heart raced as he approached, each footfall heavy with unspoken words. She could almost hear her own pulse in her ears: thud, thud, thud. It was like a scene from a movie, too surreal to be true. What was the most powerful man in the room doing here at midnight? The air crackled with electricity, filling her with a mix of excitement and dread. What could he possibly want? She wondered. Was it business, or something more unexpected? Then came that wild thought: was he really there for her? A chilling shiver ran down her spine. Just then, a low, smoky voice broke through her reverie. "Lucy, I need to talk to you, just you." The way he said her name sent shockwaves through her core. The office felt smaller, walls closing in as if the world outside had vanished. At that moment, everything shifted. Suddenly, she wasn't just the girl behind the desk anymore, she was the center of a storm. She could almost hear the whispers of her co-workers, their shocked faces flashing through her mind, disbelief etched on every expression. No way, a voice would murmur. Is he really into her? Bleeding curiosity pierced her thoughts as anxiety bloomed. What kind of secrets did he hold behind those deep-set eyes? What dark intentions brought him to her? She needed to know more. Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. As the silence stretched between them, tension hung thick in the air. The world outside resumed its relentless hum, but they existed in a pocket of time, suspended in uncertainty. What if Lucy trailed off, afraid of the possibilities hiding in the corners of his intention? Could this be a chance at something beautiful, or would it turn into a nightmare? The questions gnawed at her, promising a path cluttered with wild twists. As she stared into those captivating eyes, she knew one thing for certain: they were standing at the edge of something monumental. But what? The atmosphere crackled between them as Lucy ventured a shaky breath, her lips parted, ready to speak, but the words clung to her throat. Mark studied her with intensity, his gaze piercing through the veil of uncertainty that hung between them. This wasn't a casual late-night chat. She could feel the weight of expectation in the air, a pulse that mirrored her own trembling heartbeat. "Lucy," he began, his voice smooth like silk yet laced with urgency. "I know this is unexpected, but I need your help. There are things happening that you don't know about. I can't trust anyone else, only you." Her mind swirled with confusion. Help? What could she possibly offer to a man like Mark Sinclair, who stood at the apex of power and fortune? "Mr. Sinclair," she stammered, but he cut her off with a gesture, a flick of his hand that silenced her uncertainty. "Please, just Mark. Time is crucial." His eyes darkened slightly, a shadow passing over his features. It unnerved her, mixed with curiosity, as she noticed a flicker of vulnerability beneath his usual bravado. "You're not just a receptionist anymore. You have a role to play. Something important." He took a step closer, reducing the distance, an electric spark igniting the air between them. "There are whispers of corruption in the company. I fear I've made enemies. And you," his voice dropped low, almost a whisper, "you might be the only one who can help me uncover the truth." Lucy's chest tightened. Secrets. Corruption. The gravity behind his words sunk deep into her chest, an anchor dragging her into an unknown abyss. "But why me?" she managed, struggling to keep the beat of her heart steady. She was just a lonely receptionist, remembered for little more than her smile as people hurried in and out. "Because you're close to everything. You hear things that I can't." His tone was earnest, but there was an edge to it, a hint of desperation that pulled her in. "And I don't have time to explain everything right now, but I need someone discreet. Someone brave." At that moment, the gravity of his proposition shifted something inside her. There was danger, sure, and a part of her screamed to walk away, to retreat back behind her desk where life was predictable and routine. But another voice, a stronger one, whispered of adventure and the thrill of possibility. The idea of being part of something bigger than herself sent a shiver down her spine. What if this was her moment? "Okay," she breathed, barely above a whisper, locking eyes with him. "I'll help. But I need to know everything." Mark nodded, a glimmer of respect igniting in his eyes. A strange bond forged between them in that moment, a silent agreement echoing louder than words. But before he could say more, a sudden noise shattered the stillness, heavy footsteps echoing from the side hallway, crashing like thunder against the walls. Lucy's heart raced again, this time in fear. "Someone's coming. We can't be seen together." Without thinking, she grabbed his hand, pulling him into the shadows just beyond the front desk. The darkness wrapped around them, stifling but strangely comforting. In the silence, she could feel the heat from his body close to hers, a mix of adrenaline and danger swirling between them. She held her breath, acutely aware of her racing heart and the whispers of chaos that chased them. What had she just plunged into? And what awaited them on the other side? "Lucy," Mark's voice was barely a murmur, almost drowned out by the footsteps growing nearer. "There's no turning back now." Her mind raced with questions, but only one remained clear: what danger loomed ahead? She squeezed his hand tighter. Whatever was coming, they were in this together now, and it felt both exhilarating and terrifying. As the footsteps echoed louder, Lucy realized their first challenge was just about to begin. But who, or what, awaited them in the shadows? The footsteps grew louder, a thunderous drumbeat that echoed into the depths of the shadowy silence. Lucy's heart pounded in her chest as she pressed herself tighter against the wall, praying that the flickering overhead lights wouldn't betray them. "What do we do?" she whispered, her voice barely rising above the cacophony of her racing pulse. Mark leaned closer, his breath warm against her ear. "Stay calm. Just trust me. We'll wait until they pass." She could hardly breathe, panic creeping in like a vine curling around her throat. This wasn't just a late-night rendezvous, it was a plunge into darkness, and the unknown was suffocating. Who was coming? Why was it so urgent? The footsteps stopped just outside their hiding spot, a low murmur of voices crashing against her senses like waves against rocks. Lucy strained to hear, her body too tense to think. She glanced at Mark, whose expression was a mixture of determination and fear. His grip on her hand tightened, and in that moment, she felt a flicker of safety that balanced on the edge of danger. "You think it's them?" one voice asked, low and gravelly. "Yeah, it's definitely coming from this way. We can't let them slip through our fingers, not now." A chill washed over Lucy. Them? Who are they talking about? Her heart beat wildly, fear contorting into something darker. The world she had known, the mundane office life, crumbled in the weight of implications. This wasn't just about Mark's fear anymore. It was about something much bigger, far more dangerous. Mark's eyes darted nervously, scanning the small space they occupied. If it's about the corruption in the company, it's worse than I thought. We have to move. Before Lucy could respond, Mark pulled her deeper into the shadows as the voices continued, edging closer, almost peering into their sanctuary. With her heart pounding like a drum, she felt her instincts whirling. If they were caught, what is the plan? She hissed, her throat tight with a mix of fear and resolve. Follow my lead, he whispered, before gently nudging her toward a back door that was hidden behind a large potted plant. The moment they shuffled towards it, the footsteps resumed, retreating but not far enough for comfort. Lucy pressed her eyes shut for a moment, wishing the shadows would swallow them whole. With a swift push, they slipped through the door, the heavy thud a stark contrast to the whisper of their hurried breaths. The air shifted as they emerged into a narrow hallway, dimly lit and closed off from the chaos outside. She felt a rush of adrenaline but also a surge of uncertainty. What now? She asked. Stay quiet, Mark instructed, his voice steady yet urgent. They moved with caution, inching along the corridor that seemed to stretch endlessly. Each corner they turned revealed nothing but uncertainty. The world was entirely different now, a labyrinth fraught with peril. As they approached what seemed like the exit, an unexpected voice echoed through the hallway, sharp and commanding. Mark! You can't hide forever. Lucy's breath hitched. It was familiar, charged with malice. Mark froze, his expression shifting from defiance to dread. We're running out of time, he urged, urgency cracking through his otherwise composed demeanor. We have to make a choice. Do we confront them, or do we run? Her mind raced, and in that split second, the weight of destiny settled on her shoulders. I can't leave you, she whispered, the words thick with fear and loyalty. But before she could process their options, a hand shot out from the shadows, seizing Mark by the collar. Lucy gasped, eyes wide as she watched the terror flicker over Mark's features. Surprise, the assailant sneered, dragging Mark into the darkness as Lucy stood frozen, heart pounding, trapped between the impulse to follow and the instinct to flee. The moment stretched painfully. The walls felt like they were closing in. What lay ahead was shrouded in mystery, each unanswered question heavy in the air. With only the echo of her own breath for company, Lucy knew that the next steps would change everything, and she had to decide which side she would take. Lucy's instincts screamed at her to run, but her feet remained glued to the floor, paralyzed by shock. The sight of Mark being yanked backward was like a nightmare unfolding in real time. Panic surged through her veins, hot and cloying. Mark! She cried, her voice breaking. The assailant, cloaked in shadows, yanked Mark into the dull darkness, his startled expression a haunting reminder of their fragile reality. Get back! He shouted, but his voice was swallowed by the stale air, leaving only the echo of his plea clinging to the walls. Before she knew it, her legs were moving, charging into the darkness where they disappeared. The hallway felt infinitely long, and each step she took sent a jolt of fear twisting through her core. The dim lights flickered above, casting ominous shadows that danced alongside her. Mark! She called out again, more desperate this time. But the silence that followed was deafening. She moved faster, guided by the frantic instinct to find him, to save him. Every step felt like running against a wall, time slipping through her fingers like sand. Suddenly, she halted, pressing herself against the cool concrete wall as muffled voices grew louder, ricocheting in her head like a sinister song. Don't make this harder than it needs to be, Mark, the gravelly voice taunted. We're not doing this, Mark shot back, his voice filled with defiance, but it quaked with an undercurrent of fear. You think you have a choice? The assailant replied, laughter dripped with malice. You're deep in this now. Lucy's breath caught in her throat. She knew she had to act, but what could she do? Facing down that voice was like confronting a lion barehanded. Yet, if she didn't do something, she surveyed her surroundings, spotting a fire extinguisher mounted on the wall nearby. It wasn't much, but if it could create a distraction, it might be her only shot. She edged toward it, her heart a wild drum in her chest. With shaking hands, she ripped it from the wall and took a deep breath. "Okay, Lucy," she muttered to herself. "You can do this." Steeling herself, she rounded the corner, her feet silent against the flooring, adrenaline sharpening her senses. She flicked the safety pin off the extinguisher and swung the door open just in time to see Mark wrestle against his captor. That surge of helplessness shot right through her again, this time wrapped in fury. "Hey!" Lucy shouted, her voice cutting through the tension like a knife. Both men turned toward her, and the second man's surprise turned to a wild grin, the light glinting off something menacing in his hand. "Look who decided to join us," he sneered. Time slowed as Lucy squeezed the handle, releasing a white cloud of foam that billowed around them like fog. The men were instantly obscured, their forms swallowed by the chaos. Mark took advantage of the sudden distraction, pulling away, his expression fierce, fighting against the grip of confusion and fear. "Run!" he shouted toward her, but Lucy stood rooted, caught in the chaos, unable to tear her eyes away. The foam settled slowly, revealing the frantic scene. Mark was free but breathing heavily, his eyes darting between Lucy and the looming silhouette of his captor, now flailing and frustrated. "Get them!" The assailant howled, voice laced with fury, slipping through the mist toward them. Adrenaline surged, fueling Lucy's fight-or-flight response. But where would they run? The only exit was behind her, the way they had come. The darkness slowly swirling back, seemingly alive, seeped into her mind. "Move!" Mark urged again, snapping her out of her thoughts. With hands trembling around the extinguisher, Lucy faced Mark, eyes wide with fear and determination. "What do we do now?" Before he could answer, the assailant lunged, breaking through the foam like a beast unleashed. It was now or never. Together, they fled, hearts racing, knowing that they were not just fighting for their lives but for the truth hidden within the shadows. The sensation of dread lurked just behind them, like a predator ready to strike. As Lucy sprinted away, her thoughts spiral: was this just about survival, or had they stumbled into a fight that morphed into something much more sinister? In the midst of the chaos, it struck her, what if the truths they stumbled upon tangled deeper than mere corruption? What if they uncovered a web of betrayal that tied her fate to Mark S? The exit loomed ahead, but with every footfall, Lucy felt the weight of the unknown pressing in closer. Would they make it out in time, or would the shadows consume them both? The world around Lucy blurred as she and Mark plunged forward, the thick foam still clinging to their shoes, slowing them down like molasses. The air crackled with a tension she had never felt before, a palpable fear that turned her heart into a captive bird flapping frantically against its cage. "Keep going!" Mark yelled, urging her as they hurtled toward a set of glass doors at the end of the corridor. The bright glow from the exit felt like a siren's call, but reality clawed at her mind. What lay beyond the door? Safety? Or something worse? Behind them, she heard the unmistakable sound of footsteps crashing through the foam. The assailant was relentless, his enraged growl echoing ominous promises of retribution. She could feel his presence stalking them like a wolf closing in on its prey. "Run faster!" Lucy shouted, pushing herself harder as they neared the door. She could almost taste freedom, the tang of hope mingling with their sweat. Just as they reached the door, Mark stumbled, a quick glance back revealing the man barreling toward them, adrenaline lending brute force to his desperate charge. Lucy's stomach sank. Wasn't he going to let them escape that easily? "Mark!" she screamed, turning just in time to see him lose his footing, crashing against the floor. He staggered back to his feet, trying to shield her from the oncoming danger. Without thinking, Lucy raised the fire extinguisher again, her arms shaking but fueled by determination. "Get back!" she yelled, scanning the room for anything to use. In the chaos, she spotted a steel chair nearby. Her feet moved instinctively, her grip tightening around the extinguisher. She hurled it toward Mark, who barely caught it as it flew through the air. "Distract him." Mark didn't hesitate. He wasted no time flinging foam in the direction of their pursuer, but the man was already too close, too confident in his hunt. With a primal scream, he lunged forward, partially obscured by the white mist that clouded the room. "Lucy!" Mark yelled, panic coloring his voice. Lucy acted on pure instinct. She swung the chair hard, aiming for the shadowy figure that loomed over them. The clang of metal against bone rang out, and the man staggered back, howling in pain, though his eyes flared with crazed anger. "This ends now!" he snarled, shaking off the disorientation. Fear surged anew in Lucy's chest. Would her gutsy move be enough? Was it only drawing them closer to a final confrontation? "Come on!" Mark snapped, pulling her against him as he frantically looked for a way through. The door was still close, but now it seemed insurmountable, a fortress guarded by that furious beast. "Go! I'll hold him off," Mark said, his expression fierce, burning with the need to protect her. "No!" she cried, instinctively stepping forward. "We do this together." His eyes softened for a fraction of a second, just long enough to ignite a spark of warmth amid the terror. "Then let us go." They bolted for the door, but the assailant was right behind them, the monstrous snarl echoing in their ears. The nausea in Lucy's stomach churned into something powerful. Survival pushed them as they crashed through the doors onto the unpaved ground outside. Just as they emerged into the night, a sudden burst of light flooded their vision, headlights slicing through the darkness like knives. A car screeched to a halt, and the driver's door swung open, revealing a familiar face. "Get in!" shouted a figure that sent shockwaves through Lucy. "Kelly!" Mark exclaimed, recognizing the ally who had fought alongside them before. But in that moment, Lucy hesitated. What if this was another trap? She could feel the ground tremble beneath them, the chaos pulsing like a heartbeat kicking back to life. "Lucy, now!" Mark urged, pulling her arm, but doubt gripped her. They hadn't just escaped, they had uncovered something terrifying, something that suddenly felt bigger than all of them. As the headlights illuminated their escape, she felt that flutter in her stomach again, a sense of impending dread creeping up like shadows on their heels. Would this prove to be a moment of salvation, or was the true danger just beginning to surface? "Drive!" Mark yelled, as the figure inside the car glanced back into the darkness that enveloped them. Lucy dove into the passenger seat, heart pounding, and just as the tires screeched against the pavement, a chilling laugh filled the air behind them, echoing in the night. Then came the haunting words, "You can't run from what's already inside you." And the chase was far from over. The car lurched forward, tires screaming as they tore down the deserted road. The air inside was thick with fear and unspoken thoughts. Lucy's heart raced, each beat a reminder of how close they had come to losing everything. She turned to Mark, searching his face for reassurance, but all she saw was a reflection of her own anxiety. "Did you hear that?" she whispered, her voice barely steady. "Hear what?" Mark's eyes darted to the rearview mirror, scanning for any signs of pursuit. "That laugh, it was like he knew us," Lucy stammered, feeling the weight of the words. There was an unsettling familiarity about their attacker that gnawed at her. Kelly, behind the wheel, shot them a concerned look. "You two okay back there? We need to keep moving." Before Lucy could respond, a chilling sense of foreboding seeped into the car. It wasn't just about escaping anymore, it was about figuring out what was happening to them. What had they stumbled into? "Lucy, talk to me," Mark said, his grip tight on her hand. "I don't know what it is, but that man," it felt like her voice broke, emotions hitting like waves. "Like he wasn't just after us. Like he knew exactly who we were." "Great, so now we're being hunted by someone who has a personal vendetta," Mark said, sarcasm failing to disguise the fear in his tone. Kelly pressed the pedal down, the engine roaring as she risked it through the winding roads. Increasing speed might not be enough to shake off their pursuer. The vision of the man's furious face haunted her. What if he follows us? What if he knows our every move? "We'll figure it out," Mark replied, but the determination in his voice wavered like a flickering candle in the wind. Just then, Kelly's phone buzzed. She quickly glanced at the screen, her eyes widening. It's a message from the others. They're saying it's worse than we thought. The place we were at, it's been compromised. What do you mean? Lucy felt a chill crawl down her spine. There have been reports of multiple attacks, things that point to an entire network behind that guy. He's not just one rogue man. Kelly's knuckles turned white as she gripped the steering wheel. Lucy's stomach dropped. So, it's a whole operation. And we've caught their attention. Exactly. Kelly snapped, frustration boiling over. We need to turn off our phones, think fast. They could track us. Should we find somewhere to hide instead? Lucy's mind raced, panicking over the bleak possibilities. Mark shook his head. No more hiding. We find out what we're up against. We can't let fear dictate our moves. Let us just lay low until we gather more intel, Kelly suggested, her voice sharp. There's a safe house a few miles from here. It might be enough time to regroup. But who can we trust? Mark asked, the tension looming heavy in the car. You trust me, right? Kelly demanded, her tone raw and serious. Lucy exchanged glances with Mark, uncertainty shadowing their resolve. But there was something about the fire in Kelly's eyes, a determination that sparked hope. I'm in, Lucy replied finally, unsure of where this would lead but knowing they needed a plan. As they navigated the twists of the road, a sudden blip of headlights flared behind them, cutting through the darkness. Lucy's heart plummeted, her breath hitched in her throat. Are they following us? Mark called out, panic lacing his words. I don't know. Kelly gritted her teeth, pressing the gas harder, unleashing a wave of speed as they veered around a curve. The lights grew closer, pulsing like a heartbeat in the rearview mirror, an ominous reminder of the danger still lurking in the shadows. We have to lose them. Lucy shouted, desperation rising as she twisted in her seat to see the figure at their tail. With a sudden jolt, the car hit a pothole hard, and Lucy's grip slipped, her mind clouding with dread. Just then, an unfamiliar voice crackled through the radio, cold and cryptic. You can't run from what you don't understand. Who is that? Mark yelled as the signal faded, leaving only static snappy in the tense air. Lucy's heart raced. What had they truly gotten into? What mysteries lay ahead? As shadows danced around them and the road stretched ahead, she knew deep down this was just the beginning. Kelly, go faster. Mark urged as the headlights surged forward. And just like that, a surge of realization washed over Lucy. They weren't just running from something, they were on the brink of discovering something monumental, something that might change everything. But would they be ready for the truth? In that moment, she felt it, a deeper fear than before, one that lingered in the bitter taste of uncertainty as the night stretched ahead. And just outside the realm of headlights, something waited, something that could either save them or lead them into darkness. Get ready, Lucy whispered, feeling the air thicken around them. The chase was transforming, evolving into something new, and they had yet to understand. The road ahead twisted like a serpent, sharp turns melding into the darkness, but Kelly didn't falter. The engine screamed in defiance, a mechanical roar resonating with the fear inside the car. Lucy could hardly breathe as the headlights bore down on them, relentless. Faster, please. She urged. Hold on tight. Kelly shot back, her voice cut with determination as the speedometer crept higher. The glare from the headlights behind them was suffocating, a taunting reminder that they had no idea what was really hunting them. Mark leaned closer to Lucy, his breath hot against her cheek. We need to figure out how to shake them. We can't outrun them forever. Lucy felt a chill run down her spine. What if they know about the safe house? What if they're already waiting for us? I don't know, but we can't think about that now, Mark replied, the fear in his eyes matching her own. We focus on getting away first. But just as hope edged out despair, Kelly took a sharp turn onto a bumpy side road, the sudden motion jarring them all against their seats. Caught off guard, Lucy gripped the armrest, her heart racing as the car hit a series of potholes, jostling violently. What if this is a dead end? She hissed, scanning the shadows. I'll find a place to hide, Kelly declared, glancing back at the rearview mirror, where the headlights had nearly vanished from view. Lucy glanced at Mark, the tension between them thickening. What if we run out of luck? What if they catch up? Then we fight back, Mark said fiercely, eyes glinting with a steely resolve. Shadows enveloped them as they navigated further into the dense thicket surrounding the road. The trees seemed to reach out, cloaking their car in impenetrable darkness. Kelly slowed, searching for an opening. Suddenly, the air rang hollow. The eerie sound of something scraping against metal jolted her back to reality. What was that? Lucy blurted, glancing nervously at the windows. I may be a branch. Kelly stammered, but uncertainty dripped from her voice. Lucy turned around in her seat, scanning the darkness for any movement. We might not be alone out here, she whispered, dread pooling in her stomach. The realization lingered uncomfortably. What if they had led their pursuer straight to them? Mark's fingers tightened around Lucy's hand. Stay quiet. Just for a second, he urged, his eyes darting between shadows. The atmosphere felt electric, every second a weighty silence amplifying their fear. And then they heard it again, a deep, guttural growl that sliced through the calm night, reverberating in their very bones. It was unlike anything they'd ever heard. What the hell? Kelly gasped, looking over her shoulder in terror. Before any of them could react, the car's interior erupted into chaos as the headlights dimmed and flickered violently. The radio crackled to life again, but this time, the voice was low and distorted. You've stumbled deeper than you realize, they are everywhere. Turn it off. Turn it off. Lucy screamed, panic flooding her senses. With a swift motion, Kelly yanked the radio dial, silencing the voice, but the anxiety intensified, hanging thick as smoke in the air. Outside, the rustling grew louder and more chaotic. Lucy pressed her forehead against the window, straining to see through the darkness. What's out there? She whispered to no one in particular, feeling the creep of dread behind her. Suddenly, the car jarred forward as if something had struck it. What was that? Kelly shouted, her heart racing as she looked out into the inky blackness. We need to go. Now. Mark shouted, his voice rising above the rising fear. Kelly slammed the gear into drive, the tires spinning as they accelerated down the dark path. But the sound of footsteps echoed around them. It was too late. Lucy gripped Mark's hand tighter as the shadows began to press closer against the narrow vehicle. Heart pounding, she leaned in closer to them both. What was that voice trying to tell us? Who are they? In that moment, dread filled every inch of the car, as if the very air they breathed was laced with admonition. They had crossed a line, one that plunged them into an unimaginable peril. And just as they broke through the thicket, a flash of movement darted across the road ahead, a dark figure that vanished as quickly as it appeared. Did you see that? Lucy gasped. What was that? Keep driving. Mark yelled, urgency flaring as they sped into the unknown. They were on the edge, teetering between the brink of safety and a plunge into chaos. Every heartbeat counted, every moment rife with questions. What awaited them down this road? What had they truly unleashed? As the whispered sounds of the night grew louder, they felt another presence stir in the darkness, something beyond the realm of understanding. And in the distance, a pair of eyes glimmered like stars, and Lucy knew this was only the beginning. The car's headlights flickered once more, revealing fleeting glimpses of the landscape around them, a forest of twisted trees and shadows that seemed to pulse with a heartbeat of their own. As they sped forward, the tension in the air grew electric, sharp enough to cut. Lucy's chest tightened further, every breath a labor against the fear gnawing at her insides. Keep your eyes on the road, Kelly. Mark snapped, his voice threaded with urgency. Kelly nodded, knuckles ghostly white against the steering wheel. I just need to find a place," she trailed off, her voice cracking under the pressure of dread. Lucy's gaze flicked to the rearview mirror. "Did you see those eyes?" she blurted. "They were watching us." Mark turned to her, terror coursing through him. "You mean the ones from the road? We need to focus on what's right in front of us." The growling had morphed into something else, a chilling chorus, a symphony of sinister whispers that twisted into her bones. What were they? What hunted them, shrouded in the night? "Kelly, are you sure we're safe?" Lucy's voice trembled, the uncertainty escalating in her chest, feeling as though it might burst. Before Kelly could respond, the car veered wildly as it skidded over loose gravel, nearly careening off the side of the road. "Damn it! I can't control this!" she shouted, heart racing as she fought to regain control. "Brake!" Mark shouted, fear kicking his instincts into overdrive. "No!" Kelly cried, veering left to regain traction. "If I brake, we'll flip." Just as panic clawed at their throats, they broke free from the tight grip of the thicket. The car surged onto a wide, moonlit stretch of gravel. They gasped in unison, the sudden reprieve washing over them. But it was fleeting, the night had plans for them still. At the edge of the clearing, a looming structure emerged, dark and hulking against the starry sky. "What is that place?" Lucy wondered aloud, a tremor of hope mingling with the flicker of dread. "I don't know, but it's something," Mark said, trying to decipher its details through the flickering headlights. "Kelly, we need to check it out. It might be shelter." "Are you crazy?" Lucy shot back, panic taking a firmer grip. "What if those things are lurking in there?" "Better than being out here," Mark countered, teeth clenched, determination igniting in his voice. With hesitation, Kelly turned the car toward the shadowy building. But just as they approached, the ground seemed to rumble lightly beneath them, as if the structure itself was awakening. "What now?" Lucy whispered, pressing against Mark as she glared at the darkened windows. "What if it's a trap?" "We'll take our chances," Mark said, his voice taking on a steely edge as they rolled to a stop. He reached for the door, turning back to face both girls. "We stick together. Always." They exchanged uncertain glances but nodded mechanically. As they climbed out, the air snapped with cold, an eerie stillness enveloping them. Their breaths puffed in front of them like wisps of smoke. They shuffled closer, the sound of their shoes crunching on gravel echoing against the emptiness. The entrance loomed before them, a massive wooden door with rusted hinges that creaked ominously as Kelly pushed it open. Shadows danced within, beckoning them to step forward. Mark peered inside first, and his mouth fell slightly open. "What the?" Lucy pressed in beside him, and her breath hitched. The room was filled with old photographs, walls lined with newspaper clippings and ancient maps, hinting at something much larger. But everything was draped in darkness, as if holding its breath. A chill crawled up Lucy's spine as she felt a presence press behind them. "Are we the only ones here?" she whispered, her eyes darting toward the entrance. Suddenly, a whisper floated through the air, soft yet chilling, curling around them like smoke. "You should not have come here." The words sliced through the air. Mark turned, eyes wide, heart counting the seconds until whatever was lurking decided to reveal itself. Lucy felt the hairs on her neck rise, pulse quickening. "Run!" Mark yelled, and they bolted, hearts pounding as they flooded back outside into the bitter night, but the shadows they left behind seemed to reach out, stretching into the darkness as if grasping for them. The growls returned, more guttural and insistent, echoing through the night. They stumbled around the car, adrenaline coursing through their veins, fear pushing them forward. "Where do we go now?" Lucy gasped, panic rising once more. Mark looked at Kelly, determination flickering in his eyes. "We can't stay here. If we're going to figure this out, we need to get moving." But as they prepared to escape, Lucy hesitated. "Wait!" she yelled, gripping Mark's arm tightly. "What if we find something inside we need to know?" "Now's not the time for second-guessing, Lucy," Mark protested, glancing back at the door that had just shut behind them with a resounding thud. But it was too late. The figures had come out to play, and they weren't waiting any longer. What awaited them inside? And why did it feel like the darkness was just a prelude to even darker secrets? Mark's heart was racing, and the cold air bit at his skin as they huddled close. With the looming silence of the building behind them, the shadows stretched long, twisting unnaturally, always just out of sight. But there was something deeper lurking, crawling beneath their skin, urging them forward. "We need to go," Kelly insisted, hyperventilating as her terrified eyes darted from the entrance to the darkened trees surrounding them. "But where?" "Back to the road," Lucy replied, her voice quaking. "We could flag down a car." As the growls intensified, echoing from all directions, Mark slammed his fist into the roof of the car, unleashing his frustration. "No. We can't run into the woods. We don't know what's out there, and this," he gestured wildly at the ominous building, "might be our only chance." Just as he finished speaking, a bone-chilling howl erupted nearby, silencing the night. They swiveled in unison, eyes wide with terror. It was closer this time, almost like a mocking laughter that slithered into their ears. "Get inside," Mark commanded, lunging for the door again. Lucy was right behind him. "We need a plan." They pushed through the heavy wooden door, the stench of decay hitting them like a punch to the gut. The space swallowed them whole, and the weight of the darkness settled around them like a cloak. Mark's heart thumped painfully in his chest as he reached for his phone, the faint blue light illuminating the dust in the air. "Look." He pointed at a faded map hanging crookedly on the wall. It shimmered with seeping patterns, crossed-out entries and frantic notes scrawled along the edges. "This could tell us what this place is. Or it could lead us right into the jaws of whatever's outside," Lucy muttered, her voice laced with dread as she glanced nervously over her shoulder. "Better than staying out there," Mark replied, swallowing hard as he stepped closer to examine the map. Kelly bit her lip. "We shouldn't be separating." Her voice trailed off, a sudden chill coursing through her as she sensed a shift in the air. The darkness felt alive, breathing, wrapping itself around them. Lucy's skin prickled as she sensed movement in the corner of her eye. "Guys, I think we're not alone," she whispered, her voice barely above a breath. Just then, a shadow flitted across the edge of the map, darting back into the depths of the building. Mark leaned in closer, and Lucy felt panic grip her throat. What if whatever that was, comes back? Without warning, the floorboards creaked loudly, vibrating under their feet. The ancient would seem to moan as something heavy moved above. Mark's eyes darted to the staircase lead upward, an ominous calling echoing through the air. "There might be a way out up there. We can't stand here and wait for the darkness to swallow us alive." "No. We can't go upstairs," Kelly protested. Lucy's heart pounded as she leaned close to Mark. "What if that thing follows us up there?" The question hung heavily between them, laden with fear. The growl erupted again, a primal sound that resonated through the structure, reverberating against the walls. It felt like a warning, a harbinger of impending doom. "Let us just do it. We can't think anymore, we need to act." Mark's voice rose, focused and intense. With a swift nod, he took charge, leading them with cautious strides toward the staircase. Each creak seemed to echo louder than the last, drawing a bead of sweat to Lucy's brow. As they ascended carefully, the whispers grew ghostly murmurs that intertwined with their fear. Shadows darted across the walls, shape-shifting in the low light. "What's up here?" Lucy breathed, fighting to keep her voice steady. Mark didn't answer. They reached the landing, and his phone's light illuminated another door, this one slightly ajar. "What if this is the way out?" he whispered. They edged closer, but an eerie breeze swept past them, chilling them to the core. Heart racing, Lucy raised her light toward the door, sensing a life force behind it. "On three?" Mark suggested, glancing at Kelly, who trembled visibly yet nodded. 1, 2, 3. They flung the door open, bracing for whatever horror awaited them in the dim. Whatever light shone through, what lay beyond that door. Would it be salvation? Or a deeper nightmare still blooming in the dark? The door swung open with a screech, revealing a room steeped in darkness that seemed to swallow the light from their phones. Shadows twirled on the walls, and for a moment, they were frozen in time, hearts beating wildly, breaths caught in their throats. The room was a mess of old crates and forgotten relics. Dust motes floated aimlessly in the air, the kind that made the silence feel all the more loud and unsettling. "Stay close," Mark whispered, his voice steady despite the tension hanging thick like a fog. Lucy's fingers brushed against his arm as they stepped over the threshold, but she was acutely aware of how vulnerable they felt here, like moths drawn to the dark. Suddenly, a chilling growl reverberated from behind them. The sound echoed down the staircase, snapping them back to the present reality. "They're coming," Lucy gasped, eyes wide as adrenaline surged through her. "We have to find another way out." Mark nodded, looking around frantically. Then, he spotted something, a narrow window, partially obscured by cobwebs. "There. Help me with this." They rushed toward the window, scrambling over the debris. Kelly kept watch, her eyes darting nervously between the exit behind them and the window ahead. As they worked together, pushing crates out of the way, the growling intensified, closing in on them like a thunderstorm. Lucy's heart thundered in her chest as the darkness seemed to breathe louder. "Hurry!" she urged, desperation clawing at her throat. "We don't have much time." Just as Mark managed to loosen the window frame, a loud crash echoed from below. The sound sent a shockwave of fear through their bodies. They exchanged wild glances, urgency amplifying every heartbeat. "Go, go, go!" Mark yelled, assisting Lucy through the window. She gulped in fresh air, her heart racing with the thrill of freedom. But before she could even catch her breath, Mark shoved her from behind, tumbling her into the night. She landed on soft grass, sprawling out a little awkwardly. "Get out!" she shouted back, already on her feet. "I'm right behind you." He clambered through the narrow opening, squeezing his frame just enough to make it through. They pulled back from the window as a dark form lunged through the door, a snarl twisting its features in the dim light. "Run!" Kelly screamed, sprinting ahead as they stumbled into the woods, the trees swallowing their flight, branches snapping and crackling underfoot. Every glance over their shoulders showed nothing but darkness, yet the feeling of being pursued nagged at them. They dashed deeper into the thicket, lungs burning, fear propelling them faster. "Where are we going?" Lucy called over her shoulder, panic surging anew. "Anywhere but here." Mark shouted, determination radiating from him. The trees felt like giants, reaching out with their branches as if to block their escape. Shadows swirled around them, echoing faint whispers that blurred reason with dread. Lucy's lungs ached, heart pounding as adrenaline thrummed in her veins. What was chasing them? Suddenly, they broke into a small clearing, moonlight spilling down like a soothing balm over the chaos seeping into their souls. They paused, gasping for air, trying to collect their frantic thoughts. But it was too quiet. Mark's eyes searched the shadows, every sense heightened, every thread of instinct firing. "What now?" he whispered, his voice taut. "Those sounds, do you hear it?" Kelly asked, voice trembling. Lucy strained, the whispers of the night returning, intertwining with the soft rustle of leaves. "It's like someone's watching us." "Look," Mark said, pointing beyond the clearing. A flicker of movement caught their eyes. A figure stood at the edge, just outside the reach of light. "Who is there?" Lucy called, her voice filled with uncertainty. The figure stepped closer, revealing the outline of a woman, illuminated by the moonlight. Lucy's heart flipped, confusion flooding her. "Who are you?" "I am someone who can help," the woman replied, her voice both soothing and urgent. She wore rugged clothes, with an air about her that sparked familiarity. "You need to move. The ones after you, they're relentless." "Relentless?" Mark echoed, the word tasting bitter on his tongue. "Who are you?" "My name is Anna," she said, urgency edging her voice. "I used to be part of their operation. I know things that can help you. What operation? Kelly shot back, skepticism steeped in her tone. Are you one of them? No. Anna stepped forward. I escaped. And I need your help to expose them. You've already seen too much. They are looking for you. They can smell fear. They can track you down. Lucy felt the weight of Anna's words on her chest, fear and necessity battling for dominance. Did they trust this woman? Did they have a choice? Before they could respond, the trees bowed and swayed ominously, a dark presence creeping through the shadows. Anna's eyes widened. We need to go now. Follow me. They hesitated, but in the face of looming darkness, they had little choice. Show us the way. Mark urged, taking Lucy's hand, their fingers intertwining in an act of unwavering solidarity. Anna turned on her heels and sprinted into the dark underbrush, and they scrambled after her, hearts pounding in synchronized fear. They ventured deeper into the woods. Each step felt like a leap into the unknown, one that could either lead them to safety or snatch them into the depths of despair. Then came the sound again, the growling, now mixed with chilling laughter. The shadows coiled around them, swallowing them whole as they raced forward. In that moment, one thing resonated deep within them: whatever awaited in the darkness, they would uncover it together. And as they pushed through the underbrush, Lucy felt a fire ignite in her heart, the determination to fight, to survive, to unveil the truth, no matter where it led them. Because one thing was clear, this was not just about survival anymore. It was about truth, the truth that linked them, the truth that bound them together, and the truth that would tear the darkness asunder. As they plunged deeper, they understood one stark reality: the chase was far from over, but they would face it together. They would not back down. And somewhere beneath the wild chaos of impending danger, hope flickered bright. They just had to find their way through the night. This is the moment to show your support. You need to subscribe now so you don't miss the next gripping chapter. Smash that like button to feed the algorithm and keep these amazing stories alive. Flood the comments section with your theories and reactions. Let us get the conversation started. And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. It's time to stand together in support of the channel.